All right. Thank you guys for joining. Mark, I see you. Dave, I see you. Michelle, I see you. How y'all doing out there? Let me know where y'all watching from. Yesterday I know I canceled the event yesterday. I had an emergency call last night. Unfortunately, I was trying to call some guys so they could take care of these calls out in the Bronx. It's a dispensary we have out there. The alarm's gone off. So I had to drive a whole hour out there just to go and service the fire alarm system. But hey, we're here today. And today I got something special. We're going to be doing some troubleshooting. So I'm going to show you some things about the troubleshooting, the Edwards fire alarm control panel, and some of the modules we're going to go over so that way you can learn how to wire it and also get yourself better out there when you're looking at these devices. So in a nutshell, troubleshooting Divine is pretty much trying to identify and find a problem that is impaired on the fire alarm system, whether it be an open circuit, a missing resistor, a short circuit because the two wires are touching, a ground fault because one wire is touching metal, or you have some water damage or anything that's happening to the fire alarm system that's causing it to go into trouble, or even as easy as a low battery signal. So all of these things will cause an impairment on a fire alarm system that you got to be familiar with and how to fix. So some of the common problems that we have, so some of the common troubles we're going to go over on a fire alarm system is ground faults, open circuits, and missing devices. Now, ground faults is one wire usually touching metal. So that way is that electrical on that DC voltage on that one leg, whichever it is, black or red, is going right back to ground, causing the circuit to not function properly. You will still have voltage, but one of the legs on that circuit is actually all that power, all that data circuit or whatever you want to describe it is going into ground. So if you have 19 volts on the SLC circuits that's fluctuating, and you have 19 volts on your SLC and it's fluctuating, you will put one leg to ground or maybe a screw and then the other leg to the wire so that way you can test to see what the voltage is. It should be at least half what the voltage is when you measure it across. So if it's 19, you should be in line 10 volts or something like that. This is the screen display for the EST3 system. Up top, you have your power LEDs, your test LEDs, your CPU fail, ground fault LED, and also your disable LED. Down below that, you have your buttons, your reset button, your alarm silence button, panel silence button, and your drill button. Your reset button will reset the entire system as long as the alarm is actually clear. The alarm silence will shut the NACs off, will silence the panel itself, not the NAC circuits, and drill, if it's programmed, will activate all of the NAC circuits. Here's the screen display where you will see your messages. 01 is an active point for this alarm, for this description. You will have to hit more details or the command menu so you can get into the menu to get more details to actually see what this address is for this particular device. Up top, you have the time, you have your active points, and you have your disabled points. If you have multiple alarms, troubles, however many troubles you have on the system, supervisories, monitor points, whatever, these active points will go active depending on how many troubles you have on the system. And if you have any disabled devices, that will be, you'll see a number here. If you have 10 devices that's disabled, that number will lie right there. Down here, whenever there's an alarm, this LED will flash. Whenever there's a trouble, LED will flash. Supervisory, same as trouble and monitor. So you will physically have to hit that check mark button and acknowledge each and every one of the troubles, alarms, supervisories, whatever. You will have to acknowledge each and every one of those points in order for this light to stop flashing and the panel silence to go active. And down here is just your control menus and how you will navigate through the menu to do extra functions, change the date, log in, and stuff like that. So there's a 5-step troubleshooting process that you can take when you're looking at any situation that you will face on the fire alarm system. You first want to know what the message is saying. If it's a smoke detector, pull station, module, whatever the description is, ground fault, card fault, whatever the description is, you should be able to have a quick indication of how you're going to be able to fix this problem. Once you identify the type of problem that you have or whatever device you're servicing, you will go to that device. Take that device apart, check the wiring, measure the voltage, make sure the voltage is good. Also measure it to ground. If there's no voltage, then you will have to check the devices before it to make sure there's no breaks in the wire. So depending on how the voltage is, or if you have voltage or not, will determine if you need to troubleshoot any further, or you may have to replace some parts in order to fix that particular device. And definitely when you're working on Edwards, if you're replacing any device, you have to wait for it to map in use your laptop, upload the loop, and also download it back to map it in. So I have a live demo for a ground fault. So this is a quick indication of how you would measure a ground fault. So this is our fluke meter or whatever meter that you're using. So we have our black and our red leads. So our black lead will go to the common, or if there's any screw inside of the can that this box is mounted inside, you could do to a screw, to a connector, the MIGB that's coming in with the power. But essentially you just go to ground, and then you will take your red leg. Once you would definitely have to disconnect these, or whichever wire has the particular fault on it. You would disconnect both those wires. This one lead here will test one wire at a time. You will either put it on ohms or you will put it on resistance. If you have it on resistance, your meter will beep. If you put it on ohms, you will just get some type of value right here. So if it's a ground fault, you won't get 4.7K. You will get 0.2K or 0.1. It will be a very low value to indicate that this wire, black or the red, whichever one has the problem on it, has the problem that you got to search. So when you go through the circuit to actually break it apart, find out which way it's going, from there you should be able to find how you could actually identify why this one wire has screw in it. It could be just connect on it, squeeze too tight. It could be passing through a splice box and it's hitting metal. The box, you could put the cover back on and it could have just pinched the cable. It could be a bunch of different things. So you just got to search and identify what the problem is. So some of the essential tools for troubleshooting, definitely you're going to need a multimeter, some basic hand tools, a screwdriver, Phillips flat, some pliers or some strippers. I also like to use just regular strippers. Sometimes I use pliers, but I walk with the regular strippers, hand tools, a tech screwdriver, and sometimes I have what you call a pack drill. You want to make sure you have the software if you're especially working on Edwards and multimeter, like I said twice. So really quickly, I just want to go over me and the kids, the wife and everybody. We got a 8 o'clock shing ding. So I'm trying to make this a little bit quick, but not rush it at the same time. So I want to go over some of the wiring, and all of this, you can download this. All of this is inside the training. So let's see if I can make this a little larger. You probably won't see one of those. So let's start with this one. Oh, no, we don't want that one. You may see this. So this is the annunciator. This acts as another potential node. A node is a separate fire alarm panel within itself. So on a network, you will connect multiple nodes on a network. So this acts as an individual panel by itself, but no devices are connected to it. So how you will connect to this would be 24 volts. That's going to come from the fire alarm panel, and network N, that's going to go from network to network B. And those are only 4 wires that you would need to get this remote annunciator working. Give it an address, panel 1, panel 2, inside of the program, and download your information. Here's more details of the 3 annunciator. This is the 3 CPU. Let's see if I get a better one. Nope, I'm not going to come here. ASM, I'm not going to come past. You have a hard time displaying it. Oh, this is a good one right here. So if you come across an ASU, this is the audio service unit, or rather the audio source unit. This is how you will get the speakers this is how you will make announcements through the speakers, and also how you will hook up Warden phones. So let's look at the quick wiring real quick. So coming off, this would be the 3 CPU or inside of the fire alarm control panel. You have your primary and secondary audio, your telephone, your page out, your remote key, your remote mic, and your aux. So inside of the fire alarm control panel, this will probably be in a second bay where the ASU is hooked up at, and all of this will be hooked up directly up in bay 1 from that CPU. So let me show you the wiring. So the top bay, this will be the 3 CPU, right? So you will have your network N, as it says here in the B side. Your network N, this will go to another node. It could be another annunciator, the 3 and CPU. Or when we come out with the audio will go into the ASU, so that way the ASU can distribute it to the remote mic. And this key thing right here, this 15K end of line resistor, if this resistor is missing, you're going to get a power trouble, card trouble, audio trouble, something like that. And this right here is a very important resistor. These resistors here, if you're using activating alarm, these are like relays up here. So coming off here, the audio B out, this would be the network riser going to another nodes. So if you have a class A, you will have your network A going out, coming back on B. Same thing with the audio. So you have your network riser, so we could talk from panel to panel, and we have the audio riser to send audio across the network, either to the ASU or to other panels that will have an ASU, so we could activate the speakers, rather it be the CC1s or the MCC1s. What else we got here? So if you're using Wharton phones, you may come across like some, this should be a CC1, right? So a CC1 will have, on this side will be your power, 24 volts in and out, and this would be your data, in and out. 4 and 3 is always in, and 2 or 1 is always out, going out to the next module. Up top will be your circuit, 9 and 10. This is 15K end of line. Oh no, see, got me. 47K end of line resistor. I'm thinking of the NAC circuit, because the actual NAC circuits on a panel is 15K, but the module is always 47K. So here you will put your telephones or speakers, however you have it programmed, whatever the priority number is, will determine the type of output this is going to get. But for this example, these are all for Wharton phones. So if you pick up, this is a two-way system. So if you pick up the phone, you should be able to talk to someone at the fire alarm control panel. What we have here? Oh, this is a good one here. So now when you're wiring up amplifiers, this is another important thing, because this resistor right here, if it breaks, you're going to have audio troubles. And if you have your audios lined up like this, when you have a couple different amplifiers and then you have one for the backup, you want to make sure that these resistors are good to go, are not broken, they're in, because you're going to have some audio troubles. But when you're wiring this up, everything is wired up in a daisy chain, as you see here. So it's coming out of here, going into here. This is all 24 volts coming out of here, going into here. And this is jump back over to here to close the loop. So if this is not here, if this is not closed, and this circuit is actually open, you're going to have also amplifier troubles. So coming out of the amplifier off 1 and 2, if it's a class A circuit, this will be going into, let's say, another, this looks like another amplifier, which temporary, no, which will not be used. This looks like a music amplifier. That's what this looks like. But this right here, we wouldn't be using this, but it would just be coming out. The audio amplifier is going out to the CC1, so you can activate the speakers. What else we got here? So really quickly, this is a 3-cab 21. You have 3 bays. Each bay has 7 cards. So that's why you have a 3-cab 7, 3-cab 14, and a 3-cab 21. So up top, you'll have your CPU, you'll have your power supply, you'll have your loop controller, then you'll have your other cards here with the LEDs and switches. Down here, you will have your ASU, more cards if you need, but your ASU, your firefighter's phone, all of your audio rack will go here. Here you could put other cards, other loop cards, and things like that. So essentially, this is that 3 CPU. So when I said that there's 7 slots, or 3-cab 7, the CPU takes up 2 slots. So this would be slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5, 6, and 7. And this right here is how you will connect the other bays together so everyone can talk to each other. But the CPU will always take up 2 slots. And the first bay, instead of it having 7, this last card will be 5. Because it starts at 0, 0. These 2 right here start at 0, 0, this whole slot. So this actually starts at 1. But the bottom bay will start from 1 to 7, essentially 6 to 13. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, because you have 7 cards down there. So if you're looking at the system and you're scrolling through and you're trying to find out the card number and it says card number 3, and you're looking at this and you thinking that it'll be this card, you'll be wrong. This would be card 1, this would be card 2, and this would be card 3. And with Edwards, there's a hardware layer and a software layer. So the software layer will have the LEDs and switches. That's the software layer. And all the cards that plug into here will be the hardware layer. You will configure that in the programming. So another example of the network being wired up for the 3 CPU. So the B is the originator, let's say that. So the B will go into the A. So this is like the in, out, because your ins have to match with your outs. Then you go back in and out. So if you have panel number 1, panel number 2, and remote annunciator, you could do it like that. Or you could just have 3 separate panels. Here's with the audio, how you will route the audio if you're wiring up multiple fire alarm control panels. And this is very important to wire up the audio correctly so that way the messages can actually get to the speakers, or you could actually communicate over the Warden phone if it's a two-way voice. And here on up top, you have 3 onboard relays. You have your trouble relay, alarm relay, and supervisory relay. So anytime these point types go into alarm, you can use these relays to connect to a central station or to do something else. And here, let's say if you don't have your download cable and you have the black, red, and green cable that you could plug into your laptop, you can wire straight up into here to upload and download the CPU or the loop controllers. You may see this out here, right? So this will be either you could use, this is an IDC NAC. So either you could use it for indicating circuits like zones, or you could use it as for additional NAC circuits. So if you have a system that's being taken over and it has 3 zones on it, you can use this card to plug it in, change the resistor to monitor those zones. Or we hook up some speakers or horn strobes or speaker strobes to this circuit so that way we could activate the outputs. And here for this is 15K for the NAC circuits. The modules are 47K, but usually coming off like the cards or the panels, that'll be 15K. ModCom, this is one to see if they give us a better picture. Well, you'll see this usually card number 7. This will always be usually at the end of the Bay 1. That's actually number 5. At the end of Bay 1, this is where your phone lines will go into. And programming a ModCom, it's a little bit tricky, but I have a cheat sheet that you can use to program a ModCom. Everything is in here as well. So here, if you don't know what these guys are right here, these are called ferrite beads. And what this do is when they wrap this around, it just decreases inductance. Just think of this right here around it being an EMI, electromagnetic interference, what we can't see. So electricity, static, whatever you want to frame it as. Imagine that hovering around the cable. That type of noise can cause inductance. And what inductance is, it impedes the signal strength, the way it flows. It'll slow it down. So they get real noisy, distorted if you don't have the ferrite beads. So what the ferrite beads do is it blocks that noise out. So if there's a field, an EMI field that's around, I would say this cable, this ferrite bead just diminishes it. So that way it doesn't incorporate the noise and you don't have any issues on the phone lines, especially with the analog phone lines. Modem, the ops. A lot of this stuff you may not even see. Oh, this is the power supply. A lot of stuff you may not even see in the field. This right here would be in the back, and these are usually hard to get to. So once you put the can up, this would be the first card to go in on that left side. Then the CPU is what's on top of it. So to shut this panel down, sometimes it's a little crazy. You got to take all these cards out front just to get the power off. So this would be the power supply, usually a 6-amp power supply for the fire alarm control panel. And there's 2 important wires. There's a communication wire, which is, well, the communication wire is this one, J4, right? So this is the communication wire from the power supply going into the actual power supply card. So this would be the card that you see that has the blank plate. When you're looking at the fire alarm control panel, you'll see the CPU right here, and then there's a next one next to it with the blank plate. This is what it looked like behind it. So this would be the jumper that you would need, 100%. So that way you can send communication from this guy to this guy. And then this is a power piece that you will have to plug in. So these 2 pieces, this all comes into one complete package. So all of these things is definitely necessary. And as you see it here, if you remember, the CPU will go here. And this right here, that blank space that didn't have anything on it, this would be the power supply. But you could also put operator card, like a, what you call that, a LED switch card right on top of this as well. So it could either be a blank plate or you could put one of those operator layer cards on here. But you definitely need those 2 to make it work. Most of this stuff probably won't even see in the field. Half the stuff, I don't even think I came across some of this material. Like this right here, I don't even know what this is. Oh, let me look at it. See, most of this stuff is old, like the EST3s. So on the back of the CPU, you have 2 very important cards. You have your 232 card. This is how you're able to talk to it through the laptop. And you have your 485 card. This is how it's able to talk to every other card on inside of the panel itself. So if there's any type of CPU issues, it may be one of these cards, or you may have to replace the whole CPU. So when you buy a CPU, a lot of times you'd only get this one card. You will have to make sure you have both these cards, especially if it's designed for that type of way. But These cards usually go first before the actual card if there's any malfunction. So you could try replacing these cards before you replace the whole thing, or it all comes in one set, just change out the whole thing. But I found a lot of times these back cards, you could smell it. These back cards just go. They burn right away. Loop controller. Let's see if they got a diagram. Yep. So on the loop controller, this is how we get and speak. This is how we talk to all the input devices, smoke detectors, pull stations, modules, and stuff like that. So you have a class A, which is your B coming back to your A. You have your 2-wire smoke detector circuit, and there's a single, and then there's a dual that have one at the top and one at the bottom. So you can plug in your wires here to get a data circuit, or you could just have the single card, which you would just have the connections at the top. I don't even think they use panel tampers. Maybe. They probably still do. So the audio amplifier definitely needed. So coming off the fire alarm control panels to ASU, this is what is going to be hooking up to the horns and strobes coming out the zone amplifier. So all of these devices will all be hooked up. The amplifier is what's going to drive the speakers, the circuits, so that way it can have enough power to omit that voice over the wires. And pretty much it all has to be wired up the same way as those power supplies. What was that? So these are the operator layer. These right here are the operator layer cards that go on top of the hardware layer cards. So you have your all LEDs, you have your LEDs and switches. Oh, these are your 3-bank LEDs, 3-bank switches, and then you have your 1224, and then you have your 1212s. So you could fan on, fan off, and you can have the LEDs to do two different things. This right here look like this right here would be purge. So start, stop, and off. And each one will represent an LED. And usually here will probably be designed as an area so you can have service groups. So if the first floor service group, let's say it's this button go active, you could have this remote LED by the security desk, and this could be labeled first floor area. So when this LED go active, that person in the security room would know, oh, somebody disabled that floor. They probably doing some testing or playing with the fire alarm system, whatever. But that'll give them a quick indication of what's going on with the panel. Card readers, never hooked up a card reader to a fire alarm control panel. I know Edwards got security, but I've never done security on with the Edwards equipment. Maybe software house, S2, something like that. You may see this. They use these if you're using a coder, or if you're using a RS-232 input, you will have your isolator module in there. It's old. It's really old. You'll normally see that on the EST2. Like I said, that alarm stuff, no, I'm not familiar with that. I know it's there, but I wouldn't touch it. These are the actual audio amplifiers that you would use also for hooking up your speakers, Warden phones. Let's see if it has a wiring diagram, because these are fairly simple. These are just take 24 volts and the audio channel and data. No, it looks crazy. It's a lot of wiring. But when we hand this stuff off to electricians, we have typical. So it's all laid out exactly why they need to do. So if they just follow it one wire at a time, it'll be seamless. The aux power supply. Here we go with this security stuff again. I may have to try to see what that look like. So that's pretty much it. Oh, what is this? There we go. That's security shit. So that's pretty much it, man. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for even joining. This was a little bit short, so we got to get the kids together in a little bit, taking them out, get something to eat for tonight. And I catch you next week. We're going to be building up. I got another set of drawings that we're going to do. I'll probably do something with the voice, some with the end variable, so we can see how that works. I appreciate you. And listen, if you got any questions, you can share it. I'll sit on for a few minutes. If not, then I'll catch you next week. All right, man.